Yeah, you know what will be more painful than Stitch's glitches? Sitting through money-grabbing Mickey's live-action remake. Ah! Lilo and Stitch 2 or Lilo and Stitch 2 Stitch has a glitch if you include the subtitle, directed by Tony Leonidas and Michael LeBlanc. Yeah, we all know Tony Leonidas. He's the director of the uh, animated uh, animation destroying dumpster fire, the Emoji Movie, that followed 12 years after this movie. Well, uh, good to know he was once at least not the worst animation director before that. So, Lilo and Stitch 2 tells the story taking place sometime after the events of its predecessor in and before the events of Stitch the movie, the Lilo and Stitch TV show, and Leroy and Stitch. So literally before Jumba's experiments scatter across the island of Hawaii, where Stitch is now happily uh, living with Lilo's family and Jumba and Pleakley, and Lilo's got a hula dance competition coming up that her mum won when she was her age. So Lilo feels she needs to win the contest no matter what to make her mum proud. While this is happening, Stitch sadly develops a glitch, a malfunction, and we learn during Stitch's creation he was never fully charged with his molecules because the idiot intergalactic police interferes, and Stitch is terminal. He sadly only has limited time left to live. If these glitches continue, they will ultimately kill him. So Jumba needs to build a fusion chamber to restore Stitch's life, uh, but sadly, Stitch's glitches drive a wedge between him and Lilo, and yeah, it's it's literally becomes it becomes Lilo's choice. Does she put the contest first or Stitch? I have been requested to recently review the Lilo and Stitch sequels after I reviewed the original 2 years ago to mark its 20th anniversary, and with the upcoming live action remake Stinker hitting Disney Plus sometime in the near future. Yeah, let's look back on when the Lilo and Stitch franchise was in its prime. Uh, and Lilo and Stitch 2, I completely and utterly get the divisive reception for this film. This is the most divisive Lilo and Stitch movie of the bunch. I mean, there, yeah, there is, uh, but lots to love and criticize about this movie. It is by no means perfect, and it is not the uh, Frozen 2 of Lilo and Stitch that or the perfect follow-up that the original Lilo and Stitch deserves. It is anybody with eyes or with good taste can see this is a dip in quality from its predecessor, but uh, uh, but but we can also see that this is not the worst Lilo and Stitch movie either. It's just in between, and by director Disney video sequels, there are still worse ones. So it's one I don't mind watching because the good things in here are still so good. Heck, it's it's still way better than Belle's Magical World uh, or Return of Jafar or Bambi too. In fact, of the two Disney sequels to release in 2005, I would take this one over Tarzan 2, personally. And uh, 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 and I even if this is far from the greatest animated movie that came out that year, I mean, in comparison to Wallace and Gromit: The Curse of the Were-Rabbit and Madagascar and Howl's Moving Castle, and it is light years above a Fox and the Hound two. That's for sure. And I can't believe this movie is nearly 20 years old now. Well, in 2025 it will turn 20, but uh, but this was, yeah, one of the Disney sequels me and my sister saw when we were a little older. So uh, yeah, uh, we weren't as young as we when we saw other Disney sequels, but so we still had a pleasant time watching this at back in the day, and so now reviewing it as a 28-year-old man, let's dive into uh, why Lilo and Stitch is a hard movie to review, and beautiful moments, but is ultimately let down and ruined by a lazy and contrived writing in places. Uh, so let's not beat around the bush here. That the movie's message, based on the legend of Hiyaka, an ancient Hawaiian legend about the goddess Hiyaka and the mortal Lo Xiao falling in love. But then Halo, the volcano goddess, she murders Lo Xiao by throwing him into a volcano, and then Hiyaka brings Lo Xiao back to life through her love. So this movie's message of love conquers death is a poignant one. I mean, but I totally understand why people were offended by the execution of that message in this movie. The fact that love uh, can bring people back to life and back from the dead, which is physically impossible. It doesn't work like that, as we all know. So, the I yeah, but this movie is not saying that the people you love aren't coming back to life because you don't love them. It's saying it's in a philosophical and spiritual sense. You know that love is always more powerful than death, and love can never die. Like take for example in Harry Potter, even yeah, Harry's parents gave their lives for Harry, but the love that Harry and his parents shared forever lived on, uh, and because love is immortal, even if we're not. And Lilo and Stitch's love for one another will live forever, and and so I do think this film's message is incredibly powerful, but maybe it could have been executed in a slightly more spiritual way, so that less people would uh, get sensitive and salty about it. But that says, I mean, Stitch's death in the finale. I mean, that is an underrated Disney sad moment. Like, it will have you in a pool of tears to see Lilo just holding Stitch in her arms, and she apologizes to him for the way she mistreated him and misunderstood uh, him in this film, and then I think that's how the movie's going to end. But thankfully, her love revives him, and this this film again, it's not saying that love will automatically bring someone you love back to life. No, it I mean, if you think about it, Lilo and Nani's parents didn't come back to life, and plus, would you really want the film to end with Stitch staying dead? I mean, that would be the grimmest freaking ending a Disney movie has ever has. Like, that would be too morbid. So, you, I'm glad that Stitch got to come back to life, and him and Lilo got to have a second chance and start over. Also, to praise about this sequel compared to other Disney sequels, you know how lots of Disney direct-to-video sequels, well, some of them are were initially intended to be TV episodes, so the animation quality was at the quality of a crappy made TV show, not Lilo and Stitch 2. The animation here uh, is vastly superior, and it buries the animation of the other two Lilo and Stitch sequels and the TV show. It looks cinematic quality. It is the same quality as the first movie's animation. I'm not kidding. If I mean, it makes you wish this movie was released in cinemas, like Return to Neverland or Jungle Book 2. In fact, this was way more deserving of a cinema release than Jungle Book 2. And also, the soundtrack of this film does tug on my heartstrings every single time, especially the melody that plays at Stitch's death. I mean, it's my God. So you it's a piece of music that you wouldn't hear in a Disney animated movie these days, and also uh, the the final song, "I Will Love You Always." Well, that perfectly fits with Lilo and Stitch's Ohana theme about family, and it's a way better finale to Lilo and Stitch's story than the ending we got in Leroy and Stitch. Um, 10 times more emotional weight to it, and I love that this film is more simple and has the less sci-fi and alien stuff than the others. It purely takes place on Hawaii. We never see Gantu or the Grand Council Woman. It's And that's what gives this film a certain charm. And uh, so, so, so those who complained about the first Lilo and Stitch feeling inconsistent in tone with the struggling family and the alien storylines, you won't have that problem here at all. And you feel uh, as sorry for Nani in this film as you did in the first, because she's doing her best to well, make sure this brand new family is working. And I mean, every time she does try to have a family movie night, things get in the way, and her and Lilo do share one uh, lovely moment together where they talk about how Lilo doesn't need to win anything for their mum to be proud of her. Her mum will be proud of her just for being her. But let's get to where Lilo and Stitch 2 messed up in its writing department. Let's do this, because Tony Leonidas is clearly not the best screenwriter, and this movie had like 4 screenwriters, so it's clear there were too many cooks in the kitchen, and they did not execute this story as well as they should have. For one thing, the biggest negative is Jumba and Pleatley stupidly keeping Stitch's condition a secret from the family. Why? Like, if this is the most forced way to force tension into the story unnecessarily. I get that they need. It wouldn't be much of a film if they just told the family, built a fusion chamber that easily, and voila, Stitch is saved. You need conflict, of course, but you could have found other ways of conflict, and rather than unnecessarily breaking Lilo and Stitch's friendship up. It's harrowing seeing them fall out uh, they they established their bond for life at the end of the first movie. So if only Jumper and Pleatley had told the family sooner about Stitch's glitches and what they need to do to save him, this all none of the drama between Lilo and Stitch would ever have happened, and Stitch maybe wouldn't have died. It's you are just screaming at Jumper and Pleakley by the third act, like, why didn't you tell them 10 scenes ago the truth? They deserve to know. And then though it was awesome, we got to see Stitch's creation in a flashback. That's was great that we got to see that visually, because that's something we didn't get in the first film. It makes you despise the intergalactic police for unnecessarily endangering Stitch's life by pulling the plug before his molecules could be charged. He had 2 more to go. Couldn't they have just waited? And also, uh, Pleakley interfering with Nani and David's dating life was forced comedy and just plain filler. Like, and that's endangering Stitch's life even more. You know, Pleakley could have told Nani and David the truth about what's going on with Stitch. Instead, he is trying to make Nani jealous. Really, how is that important right now, Pleakley? We have bigger things to worry about. And the fact that Lilo uh, blames thinks Stitch's bad behavior because of his glitching is intentional, makes her dumb. How can she not see Stitch's glowing green eyes and out of control seizures and episodes? Like, I mean, if I'm sorry, but that it feels like she couldn't notice just because the until the third act, because the plot needed her to. She is such a smart kid, and there is no excuse of why it took her that long to realize there was something wrong with Stitch and that the glitches weren't his fault. This movie constantly and unnecessarily finding excuses uh, 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 to postpone getting Stitch into the fusion chamber is the most frustrating part of it, especially Jumba not building the fusion chamber to begin with. The first one, he just orders it from a catalog. I'm sorry, but Jumba could have easily have copped one up first thing. Then he wouldn't have had to go to the trouble to build one, build a second one, and uh, and plus, uh, and Nani would have been happy to easily buy them a toaster or toilet plunger, even if she didn't want to give Jumper and Pleakley her own. There was no need to steal the toaster from Nani and act that there was nothing suspicious going on. But so the dumbest decision Stitch makes in the movie before the glitching starts is he takes photos of Lilo going for Myrtle after Myrtle insults Lilo and her mum at hula rehearsal. I'm I'm like, Stitch, your a best friend does not uh, take evidence of their friend retaliating. Um, when Lilo was like, next time flush the evidence. I know, right? So yeah, overall, Lilo and Stitch 2 is well, like the Marmite of the Lilo and Stitch movies for me. I mean, 50% I like and the other 50% I don't like. But this is still my second favorite of the franchise. It's still satisfactory. Uh, could have been better, but also could have been far worse. I give Lilo and Stitch 2 3 stars out of 5. Good movie. And another thing that's worthy to note is it's is consistent that the original voice cast of the first Lilo and Stitch do reprise their roles, including Chris Sanders as Stitch, because who else could play Stitch but Chris Sanders? But with the exception of Lilo, who is recasted as Dakota Fanning. And of course, Dakota Fanning, she was one of the greatest child actresses of the 2000s, and she did a terrific job as Lilo. I mean, she sounded so much like the original voice actress. It was like, uh, yeah, it's like she put on uh, the most perfect impression. So that's another way the good in this movie outweighs the bad. Well, just two more Lilo and Stitch sequels to go, and oh boy, the other two are yeah, I will be less positive. Let's just say. Well, I love you guys. Thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. What are your thoughts on Lilo and Stitch 2, and how does it fare among the Disney sequels for you all? Please comment and let me know. Please like this video and subscribe. Please follow me on Twitter and on Instagram, and I'll see you next time. And remember, movies, arts. Bye, guys.